My girlfriend said she was volunteering at a shelter. I dropped by with coffee and found her feeding fries to her ex. At McDonald's. I didn't plan to stop by McDonald's that morning. I just wanted to grab Riley a caramel latte before heading to the shelter to surprise her. She'd been spending most weekends there lately, helping the new rescues adjust, as she put it. I was proud of that, honestly. So when I saw her car parked near the McDonald's across from the old shopping center, I figured she'd just grabbed a quick lunch before heading over. Then I saw her through the window. She was in a corner booth, laughing, really laughing, in a way I hadn't seen in months. She dipped a fry into a milkshake and fed it to the man sitting across from her. I recognized him before she even looked up. Brent, the ex she swore had moved to Denver. The same one she once described as a mistake she'd never repeat. The coffee in my hand went cold almost instantly. My brain didn't shout, didn't rage, it just went quiet. I walked in anyway. The bell above the door jingled, a sound that sliced through their laughter. Riley froze mid-bite. Brent leaned back in the booth, smirking like this was some kind of movie scene he'd already watched. Hey, I said. That's all. Just one word. Riley scrambled for a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Heath, this isn't what it looks like. Good, I said, sliding into the booth across from them. Because it looks like you're on a date with your ex in the middle of a McDonald's. Brent chuckled under his breath. Man, relax. We're just catching up. He said it so casually it almost made me laugh. The absurdity of it. The fries, the booth, the cheap smell of oil and ketchup made the entire thing surreal. A kid at the next table was staring, his mom whispering something about, mind your business. I set the coffee on the table between us. Riley stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. You told me you were at the shelter, I said quietly. I even texted you an hour ago asking how it was going. You said you were feeding the new dogs. Her mouth opened, then closed. She blinked too much. Brent offered to help with donations. We were just. Brent cut her off, lazy grin still plastered across his face. Donations, huh? That what you call this? He picked up a fry and waved it like evidence. She didn't mention the shelter part to me. Her face flushed. Brent, shut up. He shrugged. Just saying. The air around us turned heavy. Even the fryers in the back seemed to go quieter. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at her. Years together, and I couldn't even recognize the person sitting across from me. She used to bring me to this exact McDonald's after late-night drives, claiming the fries here tasted better than anywhere else. Now she was using the same place for him. The manager, a middle-aged man with a name tag that said Mr. Patel, approached, trying to defuse the scene. Everything okay here? Brent leaned back like he owned the place. All good, boss. But the manager's expression changed when he recognized Brent. You again, he muttered. You're still banned for that parking lot fight. Brent's grin faltered for the first time. Riley looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Mr. Patel looked at me. Sir, if there's trouble, we can ask them to leave. I nodded slowly, still staring at Riley. No trouble, I said. I'm just realizing how much time I've wasted. That landed. She flinched. But before she could respond, the door jingled again, and another familiar face stepped inside. Sierra, Riley's coworker. She wasn't supposed to be here either. She was the one who'd invited Riley to that so-called volunteer program months ago. Only she wasn't alone. She was holding hands with some guy in a suit who definitely wasn't her boyfriend. The moment Sierra saw us, her face drained of color. She froze in place, pulling her hand away from the man like it burned. Oh, she said weakly. Hey, Riley. The silence that followed was unbearable. Brent raised an eyebrow. Well, this just got interesting. I could almost hear Riley's thoughts scrambling for a way out. She stood, pretending to laugh. Sierra, what are you doing here? Sierra tried to match the tone, failed, and looked between me and Brent like she was calculating who knew what. Just grabbing lunch, she mumbled. Brent snorted. Yeah, seems like everyone's just grabbing lunch today. It was chaos wrapped in fluorescent lighting. Mr. Patel sighed, muttering something about calling security if this keeps up. People were watching now, phones raised, pretending not to film. Riley's hands were shaking. Her phone buzzed on the table, the screen lighting up with Mom. She ignored it, but the call came again. Out of habit, I picked it up and handed it to her. It's your mom. She snatched it, voice trembling. Hot. The voice on the other end wasn't her mother. It was Mrs. Callahan, our landlord. Loud, irritated, and impossible to mistake. Riley, I've left 3 messages about your rent. If it's not paid by tomorrow, I'm changing the locks. The entire restaurant heard it. Riley's face went pale. Brent muttered something under his breath. I leaned back in the booth, suddenly understanding why my recent payments hadn't cleared. She'd told me she handled the rent last month. I stood up. The world around me felt slightly tilted. Sierra whispered something to her boyfriend and hurried out, leaving Riley and Brent staring up at me. I came here because I wanted to surprise you, I said. I thought you were doing something good today. Turns out, you were. For him. I turned to leave, but Brent's voice followed me. Hey man, don't be sore. She's just got good taste. Something in me shifted then. Not rage, just clarity. I walked back to the counter, set both coffees down, and told Mr. Patel, one of these is for her. The other, throw it out. Then I walked out into the parking lot. The October air hit like ice. Behind me, I heard her calling my name, her voice breaking, trying to sound innocent. I didn't look back. The reflection in the glass door was enough. I could see her standing there, mouth open, Brent trying to pull her back down into the booth, people whispering and filming. By the time I reached my car, the first video was already being recorded by some teenager near the soda machine. I didn't know it then, but that clip, Riley standing there in shock, Brent yelling, the manager trying to stop it, would go viral before dinner. At that moment, I wasn't thinking about revenge or exposure. I just sat in my car and stared at the half-empty coffee cup beside me. The thing I'd bought out of habit. The thing meant to make her smile. And I laughed once, short, bitter, because I realized that this entire scene, from start to finish, would sound fake if I ever tried to tell it. But it was real. Too real. That smell of fries. That sound of her voice trying to explain the unexplainable. That ridiculous setting for something that shattered whatever trust one had left. The golden arches never looked cheaper. By the next morning, I thought the world would have moved on. It was just a scene in a fast food restaurant, nothing more. But by 9 a.m., my phone started buzzing like a fire alarm. A coworker texted me a link with a laughing emoji and the words, "Is this you?" The video had nearly 50,000 views overnight. The title read, "Caught cheating at McDonald's." She said she was volunteering. Someone had filmed the whole thing, from the moment I walked in, to Brent mouthing off, to Riley's face when the landlord called. The comments were brutal. People called it fast food karma. Someone even slowed the clip down, adding dramatic music. Every second of it was public now. My stomach twisted. I didn't want sympathy, I just wanted quiet. But the internet doesn't do quiet. By noon, people at Riley's office had seen it too. She worked in marketing, a company that loved its community image. I heard through a mutual friend that her boss called an emergency meeting about optics. I ignored every notification and drove to work. But even there, whispers followed. One of the interns held up her phone like she didn't know I was standing behind her. "It's the McDonald's guy," she whispered. That was me now, the McDonald's guy. Around 3 p.m., Sierra texted, "Can we talk?" I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. We met at a coffee shop downtown, the kind with music too soft to cover tension. She arrived first, wearing sunglasses indoors and pretending to scroll through her phone. When she saw me, she gave a weak smile. "I didn't know anyone was recording," she started. "I just didn't want you to find out that way." "That way?" I said. "You mean catching her feeding fries to her ex?" She flinched, but didn't deny it. She told me she was going to the shelter. I swear I didn't know about Brent. But after everything that happened, I guess I'm not surprised. I leaned back. "So she's lied to both of us." Sierra hesitated. Then, almost whispering, "She used your name at work, Heath. She said you two were getting engaged soon. She used that to get extra vacation days for wedding planning." I laughed, an empty sound that made her shift in her seat. "That explains the missing weekends." "She also told Brent she was investing in his startup," Sierra added quietly. "I don't think that money came from her account." And just like that, the puzzle started fitting together without me even trying. The extra rent, the unpaid bills, the donations she claimed she'd made through my card. It all looped back to the same thing. Sierra leaned in, eyes darting around. "She's spiraling. Her boss called me today. Apparently someone from HR found the video, and now it's being shared in our internal group chat. She's losing it." I didn't feel joy hearing that. Just fatigue. As we were leaving, Sierra's phone buzzed. She frowned, showed me the screen. A message from Riley. "Don't meet him. He's manipulating you. We have to stay on the same side." I looked at Sierra. "Same side of what?" She shook her head. "I'm not even sure anymore." By the time I got home that evening, the video had been reposted across half the internet. One clip showed Brent's face with the caption, "Fast food homewrecker." Another focused on Riley's reaction when Mrs. Callahan's voice came through the phone. The comments ranged from cruel to creative. Girls said she was feeding dogs, but feeding fries instead. McKarma meal with extra exposure. I didn't laugh. It all felt like noise. Then I got a message from an unknown number. "Callie, hi. You don't know me, but I'm Brent's girlfriend. Or, I guess, ex now. Can we talk?" For a second, I didn't want to. But something about her tone, calm, direct, made me say yes. We met that night in a quiet diner. Callie was tall, reserved, and carried the look of someone who'd already cried all her tears. "I saw the video," she said. "Then I saw your name tagged in it. I needed to tell you something before it blows up more. She slid her phone across the table. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Texts between Riley and Brent. Dates, times, plans. Things that made my stomach turn. In one message, Riley bragged, "Heath thinks I'm at the shelter again. He's too sweet to question it." Another said, "Brent, don't act like this is serious. You're just helping me get through until my promotion." Callie looked away. I didn't know about any of this. He told me she was just an old friend. Then I saw the video, and everything clicked. I scrolled through the screenshots again. One detail caught my eye, a transfer receipt. Riley had sent Brent $1,200 labeled donation reimbursement. The same week I'd wired money for the rent she said she'd already paid. "Do you know why she gave him money?" I asked. Callie nodded slowly. "She said it was for an investment opportunity. But Brent told me she'd been using your card for months. Said she bragged about it." Something in me went cold. "Brag?" "Yeah," she said softly. "She said you'd never find out because you were too trusting. That's how she described you, safe." The word stuck like a splinter. Safe. Not loved, not respected. Just convenient. We sat there for a while, both picking apart the same wound from different sides. Two strangers connected by the same lie. Before leaving, Callie said, "There's a reporter reaching out to people about the video. If she contacts you, don't respond yet. It's about to get worse." She was right. By Friday, local news had picked it up under the headline, "Viral McDonald's Confrontation Sparks Debate Over Public Humiliation." Reporters parked near my apartment. My inbox filled with interview requests. A YouTube commentator made a 10-minute breakdown of my expression at 0:36. The comments beneath were half jokes, half pity. Riley texted me for the first time since the McDonald's scene. "You're ruining my life." Then another, "Please tell them it wasn't what it looked like." I didn't answer, but she didn't stop. Dozens of messages followed, swinging between apologies and threats. When I blocked her, she switched to email. Then she started showing up at my workplace. Security turned her away twice. That's when I realized she wasn't scared of being caught. She was scared of losing control of the story. 2 days later, a producer from a daytime talk show emailed me, offering payment if I'd come on to share my experience. I deleted it instantly. The last thing I wanted was to become entertainment. But the universe didn't care. By Sunday, the McDonald's where it all started was flooded with people taking selfies in the booth. Someone taped a sign above it reading, "Cheaters Table." Mr. Patel, the manager, was quoted in an online interview saying, "I just wanted them to stop yelling." Now I'm on TMZ. I almost felt sorry for him. By the end of that week, everything that once felt private was shredded open. My relationship, my reputation, even my rent situation was public knowledge. Yet amid all the chaos, one realization grounded me. This wasn't a story about a man being cheated on. It was about how fast the world devours other people's pain. And Riley, desperate to escape that spotlight, was about to make a move that would drag everyone back in. The first week after the McDonald's mess felt like walking through static. Every time I checked my phone, there was another ping, a new video angle, another comment thread, another stranger who thought they knew me. Then, one Thursday evening, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. Subject, "Dinner, for closure." It was from Riley. She said she wanted to meet at a rooftop bar downtown on her birthday. Just to talk. No cameras. No drama. She promised it wasn't a trap, but I'd learned that with her, every calm message hid an explosion waiting to happen. Still, curiosity got me. Maybe I wanted to see what she'd say when the lies ran out. Maybe I wanted to watch the mask fall off completely. I arrived 15 minutes early. The place was a sleek rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline, the kind of place she used to post about, but never could afford without my card. Soft music, expensive lighting, waiters who looked like models. And there she was, in the center of it all. But she wasn't alone. 3 people sat with her, all dressed like they'd walked out of an influencer ad. Ring lights, tripods, even microphones clipped to their shirts. One of them was a lifestyle vlogger I'd seen before, someone who specialized in public redemption stories. And just like that, I understood the setup. This wasn't a dinner. It was a performance. Riley wanted to flip the script, turn herself into the victim, and paint me as the bitter ex who'd overreacted. She waved me over with a rehearsed smile. "Heath, I'm glad you came." A camera turned toward me immediately. I said nothing, just sat down across from her. She began with soft tones about healing and mental health. The influencer nodded sympathetically, asking her how she'd survived the online hate. Survived? The woman who lied, used, and manipulated her way through everyone she met was now branding herself as a survivor. I kept my eyes on the city skyline. She talked about learning from her mistakes, but every sentence started with, "when he filmed me," or "when he left." It was all about me, her trying to turn my silence into guilt. Then she reached across the table. "Heath, I forgive you. she said, loud enough for the microphones. The vlogger leaned forward, clearly waiting for me to say something dramatic. I almost laughed. You forgive me? Her face twitched. For the way you handled things. For how public it became. The way I handled it. I repeated slowly. Riley, you were feeding fries to your ex and lying about volunteering. A hush fell over the table. One of the influencers tried to redirect the topic, but before he could, a familiar voice spoke from behind me. Maybe he should also forgive you for using his card to fund your little donations. It was Callie, Brent's ex. She walked straight up to the table, holding her phone like evidence. The cameras caught her immediately. The vlogger tried to tell her this wasn't part of the setup, but she didn't care. She pulled up screenshots, money transfers, texts, receipts, proof that Riley had taken money from me and Brent simultaneously, using both of us to finance her lifestyle. This, Callie said, turning the screen to the cameras, is her sending $1,200 from his account to my ex, 2 days before she claimed to be at a charity event. The influencers scrambled. One whispered that they should stop recording. Riley's face drained of color, then twisted into something halfway between rage and panic. You don't know what you're talking about, she snapped. Oh, I do, Callie replied. You told Brent you were just stringing Heath along until you got your promotion. And you told Heath you were mentoring Brent because he was struggling. You played both sides, Riley. People at nearby tables started staring. Phones came out again, cameras ready, lenses glowing red under the neon lights. Then came another voice. Brent, drunk, staggering, still wearing the same smug grin from McDonald's. You think you're better than me, huh? He shouted at Riley. You told me this was your night to fix everything. Said I'd get my cut if I showed up. Cut. The word echoed like a gunshot. The influencers froze. Callie turned toward him, disgusted. I stood, ready to leave, but Brent slammed his hand on the table, knocking over a glass of wine. The liquid spread across Riley's dress like a stain that wouldn't come out. You owe me money, he hissed. You said after this video thing, I'd get paid. Riley's voice cracked. You're drunk, Brent. Stop. But it was too late. Every person on that rooftop had their phone out. The forgiveness dinner had turned into another public disaster. When Brent threw the next glass, aiming at no one in particular, it shattered against the floor. The sound was enough to bring security. In the confusion, Riley screamed that she was being ambushed. She blamed Callie, accused her of hacking private data. One of the vloggers tried to shield her from the cameras, muttering about legal exposure. And me? I just watched it unfold. It was chaos, loud, raw, absurd. Everything she'd built was collapsing in front of strangers holding iPhones. I didn't have to say a word. When security finally escorted Brent out, still yelling about owed favors, the influencer team packed up. Riley sat there trembling, makeup streaking under the city lights. You came here to humiliate me, she whispered. No, I said calmly. You did that all by yourself. I stood up, and that's when I saw her boss across the rooftop. She hadn't noticed him come in, maybe invited by one of her influencer friends. He was watching the entire scene unfold, phone in hand. When our eyes met, he gave a small nod, like he'd just made a decision. I didn't stick around to see what came next. I left the rooftop, walked past the valet line, and didn't look back. An hour later, I got a text from Sierra, the coworker. Sierra, Riley's been suspended. They're calling it a breach of professional conduct. Brent got arrested for assault. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat in my car overlooking the city. The air was thick with humidity and the distant echo of police sirens. Somewhere out there, Riley was trying to spin the story again, telling herself that she'd been set up. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about one viral video or one confrontation. It was about who she'd always been, a woman who built her world out of mirrors and lies until the reflections turned against her. And now, with every camera pointed at her, there was nowhere left to hide. Still, I had a feeling it wasn't over. People like her didn't vanish quietly. They found new ways to claw back attention, even if it meant burning everything left. I was right, because the next morning, my phone buzzed with a new notification, not from Riley this time, but from an official press account. Local influencer involved in viral McDonald's scandal loses job, blames ex-boyfriend for defamation. And my name was in the headline. When your name ends up in a headline you didn't ask for, the world stops feeling real for a while. My inbox overflowed again, this time with reporters asking for my side of the story. TV anchors said things like the boyfriend who walked in at the wrong time. There was even a meme. Someone photoshopped me holding fries like evidence in a crime scene. But I kept quiet. Every time I said nothing, the noise just burned itself out faster. Riley, however, couldn't stay silent. She went on a podcast 3 days after the rooftop disaster. I didn't watch it live, but someone sent me the clip. She sat there under studio lights, looking pale and nervous, her voice cracking as she claimed she was manipulated and emotionally abused. She told the host I had staged the McDonald's scene for attention, that I'd been obsessed with controlling her. But the internet has a short attention span and a long memory. Within hours, viewers dug up the videos, screenshots, and that rooftop footage of her screaming while security dragged Brent away. Her narrative collapsed faster than it started. By evening, her employer released a short statement. Effective immediately, Riley Foster is no longer affiliated with our company. The next day, Sierra called me. She sounded shaken. They found out she was using company funds for event reimbursements. She's finished, Heath. I didn't feel victory. Just relief. Cold, quiet relief. A few weeks later, I was sitting at a small cafe when someone approached me. It was Mr. Patel, the McDonald's manager. I hadn't seen him since that day. He smiled shyly. You remember me, right? From the incident. I nodded. He chuckled softly. The video brought a lot of people to the restaurant. Some just wanted to sit in that booth. Crazy world, huh? Yeah, I said. Crazy. Then he leaned forward. Corporate noticed. They're launching a community campaign about second chances. They asked me if I knew anyone who could help design the posters. I told them about you. I blinked. Me? He shrugged. You handled yourself better than anyone else that day. Quiet. Dignified. They liked that. It felt surreal. The same place where my relationship imploded was now offering me work. I didn't say yes right away, but the irony was too perfect to ignore. A month later, I found myself sketching ad concepts for McDonald's charity partnerships, real ones this time. The check I got from that first job went straight to the actual animal shelter Riley used as her excuse. That was closure. Not loud, not viral, just quietly right. But the story didn't end with her disappearing. Around mid-November, I got an envelope in the mail. Inside was a notice from a debt collection agency. Riley had defaulted on the last 2 months of rent before moving out, and because both our names were on the lease, they were coming after me for the remaining balance. I could have fought it, but I didn't. I paid it. Not because she deserved mercy, but because I was done letting her hold space in my life, even through paperwork. A few nights later, while leaving the shelter after a late volunteer shift, I stopped by that same McDonald's again. The line was long, the smell of fries heavy in the air. The place looked brighter somehow, or maybe I was just lighter. Then I saw her. Behind the counter. Hair pulled back, no makeup, wearing a visor with the Golden Arches logo. She froze when she saw me, tray in hand, mouth opening just slightly like she couldn't decide whether to speak or hide. I didn't say anything. I just nodded once, polite but distant, and ordered a small coffee. The cashier next to her whispered, "That's him?" I pretended not to hear. Riley's hands trembled as she handed me my cup. Our fingers didn't touch. There was nothing left to say. As I turned to leave, I noticed the new posters on the wall, my designs. Real giving starts small. Underneath, the campaign credited the local artist, my full name, printed in clean white font. Her eyes followed it like it was a cruel trick from the universe. Outside, the air felt different. Crisp. The kind of evening that smelled like closure. Weeks turned into months. The online noise faded, replaced by the next scandal, the next viral heartbreak. I deleted every trace of her from my phone. No pictures, no messages, no digital ghosts. I learned how quiet peace really sounds when there's no one lying beside you at night pretending to love you. Sometimes I'd still pass by that McDonald's and see tourists snapping photos of the infamous booth. A little plaque on the wall now read, "Scene of the viral moment, 2025. Even the chaos had been repackaged for nostalgia. That's how the world works. It eats everything, then sells it back to you. One evening, I got a message from Callie. She'd started a small online channel about rebuilding after betrayal. Not dramatic, not revenge-driven, just people talking about what they learned. She invited me to join an episode, but I declined. I'd rather build quietly, I told her. She understood. Life didn't hand me poetic justice or some grand transformation. It just gave me the chance to start clean, and that was enough. Still, there's one thing I'll never forget. How fragile trust sounds when it breaks in a room full of strangers holding fries and phones. How something so ordinary, a Saturday lunch at McDonald's, could pull the lid off everything false and leave only what's real. I went back to the shelter one last time that winter. Not to prove anything, not to post about it. Just to be there. A new volunteer, a college kid, asked if I was that guy from the video. I smiled. I was. Not anymore. When I left, I passed a newsstand carrying a small local feature about McDonald's community programs. One photo showed Mr. Patel shaking hands with city organizers, my logo in the corner. The caption read, "Sometimes, good things grow from messy beginnings." It wasn't profound, but it felt true. That night, I walked past the same McDonald's where it all started. Through the window, I saw Riley mopping floors. Her shoulders were slumped, eyes fixed on the ground. For a second, our reflections crossed in the glass, hers dulled by fluorescent light, mine framed by the city outside. Then I kept walking. No anger left. No revenge. Just distance, clean and final. The golden arches flickered behind me, humming like a warning or maybe a memory. I didn't look back.